start broadcast by एक वीडियो report एक वीडियो report start broadcast कोई बहुत एक्स्ट्रा buat kami time hilang ini. Kita terus masuk ke ini add video buku start broadcast itu. Jadi YouTube orang kurang jadi cepat jadi modern. Itu lepas dalam untuk India
Okay, Andy. Yeah, we're a bit tight on time today. We have to finish early, so we're going to start anyway and not wait for everybody. Otherwise, we will run out of time. So the just the topic that sort of to wrap up what we've been talking about this week. And the title of this should actually be The Future of Design Thinking, not what I've got on there. So I'll just change that. So, we've been talking all week about the different aspects of design thinking, and you've been looking at the process, and we've talked about the critique of the process, and we've also we've looked at some examples and where it works and so on and so forth. And so the question for this sort of last lecture, if you like, is what's the future? So when we look at this question of the future, we've already said that there are some, critics out there who say, is design thinking dead or alive? What future does it have? What are the consequences of its spread to other areas? And what next? And so on. So a lot of people are thinking about this topic and making different sort of claims. We can look at one particular contrasting perspective, if that's the right word. And this is two recent articles, both from the Harvard Business Review. And we've mentioned these, I think. I mentioned one of them before. The statement on the left comes from a 2018 article saying design thinking is fundamentally conservative and preserves the status quo. So there's this critique out there that design thinking doesn't really change things. It just really it's quite conservative, and it's concerned with the status quo, an old strategy. I think I've already said during this week that that I think some of that critique comes from the sort of weak business focus, workshop type focus that exists. So I think this critique is critiquing one version of design thinking talked about, which is a kind of a thin rather than a deep version. On the right-hand side is another quote from the same year, same journal, with the title "Why Design Thinking Works," and this comes from Jean Vietka at Virginia, and she's leading a lot of the work at the moment on design thinking in, I suppose, business and strategy and management. And she's saying when they looked in depth at 50 projects across business, healthcare, social services, and so on, her conclusion was that design thinking has the potential to do for innovation what TQM, which of course is total quality management, what TQM did for manufacturing. So if you look at those two statements on the left and the right, they almost contradict each other. Left, conservative; on the right, a complete, a radical improvement of process. So you will find those perspectives out there. And I think, again, the key is to decide or to find out which version of design thinking people are critiquing, because there isn't one. There are various versions which are sort of weaker or stronger. Tim Brown, who has been mentioned a few times, who's one of the CEOs of IDEO, and I mentioned that in the beginning, IDEO was very concerned with product innovation, quite narrowly, and then has gradually shifted into social innovation spaces. And in a 2013 interview, which was actually published on CBS News, Tim Brown tells Charlie Rose's company is increasingly asked to design solutions to social problems and how to build a better education system in Peru or help NFL players transition to life after football. So what's happened is that the original work on product innovation has become, which is, if you go back to, if you remember, when we were talking about the nature of problems: simple, complicated, complex, wicked, chaotic. In many ways, IDEO has moved from addressing simple and complicated to addressing complicated, complex, and wicked problems. They have, with a social agenda. So let me just jump out for a second and try to play you what one of the leading sort of thinkers thinks about this future.
What we've seen over the last 10 years is the application of design to a broader and broader set of problems. And we've followed that idea, perhaps helped make some of that happen. But we're seeing now that, just thinking about a product or just thinking about a piece of graphic design or a poster or a book, or that just thinking about these individual things isn't enough anymore. We've got to start to connect design together and create experiences for people that are more seamless, that are connected together, that make more sense. And so we're starting to see design applied to services. We're seeing design applied to systems level problems, things like healthcare and education.
Give me an example of the kinds of problems people are bringing to you that they didn't bring to you 10, 15 years ago.
Carlos Rodriguez Pastor, who runs a wonderful company in Peru, who's trying to build the education system there, came and said, I think you guys can help us create a sustainable education system, private, but very low cost, $100 a month, where we need to look at the buildings, absolutely, but we need to design the curriculum. We need to design the tools that teachers use to share the best techniques for learning. We need to design the business model. How's this all going to work? How are we going to make it sustainable? Because it's got to make some money. That wouldn't have happened.
And now you're also working with the NFL Players Association.
Yeah, I think that's a great example. So often in the world of design, we might see a problem and it seems to be all about one moment, right? So one of the interesting things about the NFL is that players have an average career of only about 4 years.
Yeah.
So they're going to spend most of their lives not being players. And it can be quite hard for them to adjust after this very structured experience they've had through college and then in the professional league. And so the NFL Players Association really wants to help them make that transition out into the real world. But what you have to do when you look at something like that is say, well, is it really just about that moment? Or is it more about a journey that these players are going on over time? And so that's what we're trying to do with them is help them understand how actually they have to start helping players maybe much earlier on.
And that represents, in a sense, an idea as well as the answer to a question.
Yeah, I mean, design is always about the combination of an idea and how you then express that idea in the world, the solution, if you like.
So, yeah, I thought it was worth playing that. So, Tim Brown there talking about the expansion of the scope of what design looks at from sort of narrow products through to services and systems level design. So, two examples there: a health system in Peru, an affordable education system in Peru. Which is really quite a complex, if not wicked, problem. And that's the space in which it's working. So again, I would say, if we look at Tim Brown's work, or we look at IDEO's work in that social innovation space, the criticism of design thinking that it's no longer leading the way is actually not talking about that, talking about a narrow business perspective that is pretty shallow anyway, and is still kind of narrowly focused on. So worth bearing that in mind. So when we think about this, future of design or design thinking, human-centered design. So we've said, it moves into this new sort of broader space with an interest in people and users. There's technical issues, yes. There's policy issues. There's a range of issues that need to be brought together, and often there's this promise or this idea that designers can handle wicked problems. Again, I would emphasize, when we use the term designer here, we're using the term in the sense of Herbert Simon, not in the sense of Bauhaus. In other words, we mean designers are people with a certain skill set and openness and capacity to work in policy contexts and health and education. They are not industrial designers or education designers. So we need to be clear about what kinds of people we're talking about. So that's the promise. That's the idea that people can play this role, and they have different backgrounds. They have engineering backgrounds, architecture backgrounds, management backgrounds, science backgrounds, and they just so happen to bring that and other skills together to handle wicked problems where the social and people and often sustainability are also questioned. So that's a property of the kind of person we're talking about. Which is why I think I can say to you, which is why while places like the National Institute for Design, NID, does a great job, they are still thinking in terms of arts and crafts. They're not thinking in terms of what we're talking about. one of the criticisms or one of the comments that we've mentioned along the way also is that when you use the term design thinking, it gives the impression that you're talking about a cognitive activity, some sort of mental mental act of that we can define as a kind of cognitive style. And this cognitive style is supposedly something that all designers share, so architects, industrial designers, and so on. So they have some shared cognitive style. We saw yesterday that that claim is debatable. And in effect, if you've learned anything this week, you will understand that, in fact, the term design thinking is a little bit of a diversion or a little bit misleading, because it's actually about design doing. There is no abstract, just thinking process that produces these results. There is only doing, that is prototyping, field work, making stuff, testing it. It's all about practical action. So the term is a bit misleading. So that's a second thing to bear in mind. One of my colleagues, I suppose, in Australia, and some friends wrote a paper about the future of design thinking in Australia. And they pointed out that although there's a real take-up in Australia of this idea, there are still lots of problems with the perception of design and the understanding of design as something more than just industrial design or arts and crafts. So in Australia there are barriers, and there are still opportunities for this to develop. And that would be the same here in India. There are a few organisations pushing this, and it's really important that in each country and in each area there's some kind of local adaptation or certainly revision of the ideas to match the context. And on the right-hand side there you can see that one of the potential barriers, we've touched on this before, is that not only are there different versions of design thinking out there, people refer to, there are also different, not so much versions, but ways in which people use the term practically. So they talk about mindsets, attitude. They talk about this as fundamental to service. They talk about design thinking as a tool or as a covert tool and so on. So the fact that people don't use the term consistently is also a potential problem. And that leads on to this claim that there are too many meanings, and that we need a defined meaning of design thinking if we're going to make any progress. We need to figure out more specifically what this means, such as you would do in any sort of academic area. You would define the model, what the criteria are, how it operates, on what basis, and so on and so forth. So that is one claim, and I think that's possible, possibly desirable. But the main thing is going to still be that we have three kind of different narratives about what this is, and so the definition will have to be more or less adapted to those three ideas of design thinking as cognitive style, design thinking as organizational resource, or design thinking as kind of broad philosophy. So that's a question that's still being answered. In organizations, whether they're banks, schools, or anything else, or hospitals, wherever you work, in organizational culture, there are lots of barriers to innovation. We've talked about that. Where the CEO sees design as an investment, not just a cost, and so appreciates the value of something like design thinking, then you're going to get progress. If you don't have that, it's not going to happen. Unless there's buy-in at that level, organizational change won't happen. So then we can ask and not necessarily answer, but there's a few questions we can ask and perhaps give some broad answers to, I suppose. One is where to next for design thinking. So maybe Paul Pangaro is right that this was the beginning of a conversation. It was a design thinking ad per se was a good way of introducing creativity back into innovation, and that the term itself and some of the work that's being done will disappear because it doesn't have depth, and that we will hopefully move on. That's his view. Other people, myself included, who think that what Paul is talking about and what other people are talking about is a business workshop version of design thinking. I also think that that has passed its use by date and is on the way out. But human-centered design as a practice in social innovation and social spaces is very much alive, and so that's what's next, and I think for quite some time. So what will things look like in 5 to 10 years? I think if we're fortunate, business will be banging on about something new, because they do that every 6 months. They change, fashion. But in the area of innovation, in particular where social and sustainability matter, I think we'll still be talking about the value of human-centered design. Simply because, as you all know, the existing issues we have with society, politics, and economics globally are not going to go away in 5 to 10 years. So we're going to need something to keep trying to manage them. So yeah, that's kind of where I wanted to briefly wrap up what we've done this week. As I mentioned to a couple of people too, the Canvas platform that you're signed up to won't disappear. It doesn't have an end of life date, as far as I know. So you can always go back to anything that's on there. Hopefully we also will find some ways to continue this conversation, including, within IT, in other ways, and with you as individuals. So anyway, happy to take any particular questions or comments at this point before we move on to something else. I'm not sure I'm going to recommend the microphone, since that seems to be dangerous. Yeah.
So, when the Australian review use the word covert tool.
Oh, covert tool, yeah.
Or what sense was that?
Oh, they mean like being a spy or a secret agent.
I mean, in terms of application, why should you specifically already use the word tool? And then again, you use the word covert tool, as in you're not telling the.
Yeah. So I think so. Yes. So you can either explicitly say, if you're working with a company or somebody, you can say, look, we're doing, we're bringing design thinking here. That's the tool, and this is the system, and so you make it explicit. Alternatively, it's a bit like that discussion with Margot Breslin from the Mayo Clinic. You're talking to the medicine and the health people, you don't necessarily need to say, kind of make a big deal out of the term, like it's another new theory that they need to grapple with. So you can, bring it in and use it, and use the process, and use whatever name that you need to get the conversation going. I think COVID makes sense. Yeah.
So one thing we were discussing 2 days back that was like left in middle. We were talking about a case where that tube type of thing that is used for cleaning water that didn't work out.
Live straw.
But live straw. But I didn't understand why it didn't work.
Yeah, it's a complicated story. Let me just quickly see actually if I've got. Okay, actually here's a good, maybe we'll just play a visual of it. We've got a little bit of time.
Wow, it's pretty cool to get here and talk about philanthropy in the midst of all these people who actually do something. So what we like to say about Malago is that we are looking for the best solutions to the biggest problems in the poorest places. And my job, along with a couple superstars in San Francisco and a great board in New York, is to try to make sense of this and make bets on who's going to create the most change for the better. And I kind of started this. I was in medical school in San Francisco, and I acquired a wonderful mentor named Rainer Arnhold. And Rainer was a pediatrician who'd escaped from Nazi Germany, and he was a grizzled veteran of all of the humanitarian crises that swept the world in the 60s, 70s, and early 80s. And he lived in a ramshackle A-frame in Sausalito, and he seemed to have only maybe 3 changes of clothing. But he helped me start a project in Peru, and we became very good friends. And in 1993, we were working in Bolivia together, and Rainer died suddenly, actually while we were walking along the trail together. And in the aftermath of that, I came to know he had a lovely family. It turned out they'd been in banking for generations, and they were very good at it. And they wanted to start a foundation to carry on Rainer's legacy. And I didn't have a clue. So I hit the road, and over the last 15 years, I've gone all over the world looking at dozens of projects, trying to figure out what works, how to know it when you see it. And we've developed a set of tools that's worked very well for us in being better investors in change for the better. What I'd say is that all of you are investors. You invest your time, your money, your increasingly in-demand attention span, your influence, trying to create change for the better. And so in the next 15 minutes and 25 seconds, I want to make you better at this than most of us who get paid for it. And the key is impact. We're obsessed with impact. And To the point where a friend of mine gave me a t-shirt with this on it for Christmas. And how do you know when you've had impact? For us, it boils down to three things. Know your mission, know what you've set out to do, measure the right thing, measure it well. So we don't find the average
Sorry about this. He talks about the life story, about the failure of the life story. We talk about the failure of the life story.
mission statement very useful. It doesn't tell us what we need to know. We wanted a mission statement in 8 words that include a verb, target population or setting, and an outcome that tells us something to measure. So I'm going to give you 3 examples from our Milagro portfolio to kind of help you see what we mean. So the first is living goods. This is a cool project. This is a Avon Ladylike network in Uganda where these dynamic saleswomen sell health products that people don't otherwise have access to door to door. And in doing so, they also are trained to teach moms some critically important home health practices that can save their kids. So, verb, target population, outcome. 1 Acre is a group in Kenya that works with farmers who are on subsistence farms where they don't even make enough food through the year to last. They have hungry months every year. And they work with them through the crop cycle, helping them with the training they need, the inputs they need, credit they need, and access to markets, so that these people not only have enough to eat, but they are actually able to sell some of their crop for money. So, here we go. Verb, target, outcome. All right. Another is island conservation. So 60% of the world's extinctions happen on islands, most of them due to invasive predators. And island conservation goes on to islands, eradicates the invasive predators, the species come back, ecosystems recover. Verb, target, outcome. So you now know what your mission is. How do you know how to measure the right thing? And I need to keep things simple. So I ask people, if you could only measure one thing to know if you fulfilled your mission, what would it be? It drives them absolutely nuts, but you actually often come up with something really doable. So for example, living goods, child mortality cuts right to the chase, and we know that for every kid who doesn't die, many more won't get sick. You're trying to get people out of poverty, measure their income. And island conservation watches carefully to see when the populations of animals go back up to a point where they're safe. Now you've measured the right thing. What do we mean measure it well? Oh, forgot. What happens when you don't measure the right thing? So in microfinance, they measured activities, loans given out. They measured behavior, loans repaid. But for a long time, they assumed that if you repaid a loan, you must be getting richer, so nobody really measured impact. It turned out when people started taking rigorous looks at this, that a little bit different picture emerged, which is that it looks like, and the jury isn't fully in, but it looks like 25% of people are well out of poverty, 50% are a little better off, maybe, but about the same, and 25% are actually worse off. These are people who started out poor. That makes sense if you think about it. The average interest rate of microfinance approaches 40%. If you don't have something really productive to do with that, you can really get in the hole. So now back to how to measure well. Measuring well means taking an honest stab at understanding what change you created, what happened with you, and what would have happened without you, because your real impact is the difference between the two. Now, sometimes you can get away with a simple before and after. On the left, goats. On the right, no goats. This is Guadalupe Island off the Mexican coast. They made this fence to just show what happens. On the left, scorched earth. On the right, grass and seedlings, and the Guadalupe cypress almost extinct coming back. Now, 1 acre fund has to do just a little more complicated. So they measure before and after with their farmers. But maybe the increase in income was due to a rainy season, more rain, or maybe it was due to higher commodity prices. You don't really know. So they need to compare to someone who isn't a 1 acre farmer. They need to compare group to group. Now for living goods, it's a little more complicated still because there's so many factors that play a role in child mortality. So what they are doing is they're getting a baseline in a whole set of communities, and then they randomly select half of them to get a living goods promoter, half not, so that they can know, does a living goods promoter in your village really make a difference or not? So we've talked about impact, and I hope that in the upcoming holiday giving season you find the 8-word mission statement useful. But this is PopTech. And so I want to talk for a little bit about impact from a thing. So at Molaga, we often have people coming to us with a thing that's going to save the world. It's a product or technology, a tool. And we want to know, well, is it? And so we have 4 questions that we'd like to ask that really help us sort it out, and that with a little legwork and some common sense, just about anybody can use. And those are, is it needed? Is it really needed? Does the thing work like it's supposed to? Will it get to those who need it, and a lot of them? And will they use it right when they get it? So I'm going to talk about some failures as requested. And I've chosen them for specific reasons, 5 in fact. One is they got a lot of the limelight, changed people's views on what was useful. 2, they burned through a ton of money. 3, they inflicted some cost on those who were already on the margin. 4, they went on for a long time, often ignoring signs or not gathering information that could have warned them. 5, a lot of people smarter and a lot more experienced than me told them they were blowing it from the beginning. So, the life straw. So, this was touted as a solution to the 1 billion people in the world who don't have clean water. It's essentially a big-ass straw with a filter. And it lasts for about a year, and you have to buy a new one. And it was intended that you would hang it around your neck so that you'd have it handy if a nearby irrigation ditch beckoned. So let's do our 4 questions. Real need? Well, of course, everybody needs water. Does it work? Well, yes and no. It's a very good filter. It filters out 99.99% of all the pathogens that are major causes of diarrhea. But it only filters about 100 cc's a minute. So, 300 cc's 6 seconds. I checked last night, actually, and don't check it 3 times before you go to bed. Anyway, if I was drinking this from a life straw, I'd have 2 minutes to go. And in fact, your 2 liters a day, that's the minimum you really need, especially in hot climates, that's 20 minutes a day. So did it get to the people who need it? The wholesale cost is about $5. Anybody who knows retail will tell you that the retail price is probably going to be about 15. You make $2 a day, that's 7 days work. If you're here making $20 an hour, that means in 7 days, that's over $1,000. Would you pay $1,000 for this thing? Especially when you have to buy another one next year. And as for using it right, look at the picture. Nobody wanted to do this. And the one study I could find that really looked at community use, only 13% of people even claimed they used this, much less. And you can assume that means a lot less actually did it. So, don't pay attention to awards in the media. There's no correlation at all with impact. Here's what Forbes magazine said about the life straw. Come on. So, life straw. Let's beat up on 1 laptop per child. So, a computer that was supposed to...
Sorry, I will play because it's really well done. The paper that we wrote about socially responsible design, we mentioned all of the cases that he talks about, and we overlap in all of the criteria he gives, but we also add a few. So there's a complete overlap between our 2011 paper and this. So you can sort of listen to this, read our paper.
To be handed out to poor kids in the world to make them something. It works really well as a computer. It's fast. It's indestructible. It's green, and I could never figure out what this thing was for. You know, where we work, there's not a digital divide. There's a pencil divide. Schools are falling down. Teachers don't show up. This thing didn't come in at its price point. It ended up costing, when all is said and done, about $400 to get this in front of a kid. You're a $2 a day family, and you're going to let your kid take the most expensive thing in the whole household to school? This was nuts. And so there really, I don't think there was really a need for this thing. So the other 3 questions don't really matter. So who cares? We're done. So last, play pumps. Deep borehole down in an aquifer. Joyful kids push a merry-go-round, pump water up into a tower, and everybody in the community has water. It's so seductive, and it's so wrong. And $20 million later, the party's over, and we don't even have any idea how many of these things are still spinning. So let's go through our little algorithm. Need, of course, everybody needs water. Does it work? We don't really know. We know that a lot of them broke down. There were all kinds of schemes to keep them going. But what we do know that didn't really work. But what we do know is that the aquifers are different, and it doesn't work the same everywhere. And there are actually settings where kids would have to push this more than 24 hours a day to keep that full. And the last thing and the biggest thing was really, would they use it right? We all remember being on a merry-go-round when we were kids. We would use it it would be hot for a while, and then the swings are in. Or then some game, then jacks were in, and the merry-go-round would sit empty for a long time. And what it turned out was happening was that every time the foreigners with their cameras around, all the kids would rush over and start spinning this thing like crazy. As soon as they went, who was back turning it? It was the women. We've got depressing footage of women trudging in a circle. And even, we heard that they were taking the thing apart completely and putting reliable pump handles back on the thing.
Anyway, I'll stop it there. It's a great tip though, and you know what it points out is that so many things, and it brings me back to some of the things we wrote about, but also the Maharashtra story I told you about that I experienced in March. The same thing. Somebody says, "Here's this technology, here's this thing that's affordable and green and wonderful, and this will change the world." And so many of them are just, they don't address a need, they fail, they're too costly, and there's no clear impact at all. So that's a solid message about some of the things you hear about great innovations and the change that they make or not when you look hard. So we can stop because you're going to present. Before we go, let's take a couple of minutes break or something. I don't know if it's any tea or anything, but let's just take a short break and then you can come up and do your thing. So we'll have a short break. Oh, there. Okay. Oh, great.
Right now, the last next
So how do you want to do this? You want to come up here and present your idea? I'll sit over here. Is that how we're going to do it? Okay. Where is can I wipe this off?
Yeah.
No. Can I? Yeah. So hang on. So you've got one. This is one group of you. Yeah. Is
We will do second or third.
everybody wants to be sick. Everybody wants to be sick. Are you going to do anything? Come on. There's, what are there, 4 of you? Oh. So you do one, yeah. Who else? Yeah. Okay. What about you guys? Okay. So there's 1, 2, 3. 1, 2. No. Yeah, I'm just thinking what I need is I get on the right or maybe they can write it down. So actually, when you do your, if you present, I'm going to sit down the back here. I need your names, yeah, to know who. So maybe just write your group and like the names of them. With this, yeah, and give it to me so that I can remember later if you want to break.
So I'm hoping I'm all right, so who's going first anyway? Who's number one? If you need to load up, if you need to load up presentations, up to you. That's there, or you're just going to talk up the front. Okay, so you can plug in the back of the, the computers down there. Just wait for the power to come in. Oh, down, I think down there. Yeah. So we're going to wait for the lights? Yes, sir. Yeah, lights. I'm just going to record some of them so I remember what you said. Yeah. 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 Okay. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Maybe you should sit on the seat and wait. Oh, okay, so hang on a second. Just make sure I'm not. So it's just you? Just you? No. I have two friends. Okay, so you put the name on, yeah? Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, thanks. Yeah.
Right, so good morning, all friends. So now I'm going to present on behalf of our team, which consists of Abhijit, me, Ayush, and Isham Chatterjee. So we are going to give a solution to a problem that was posed to us by Sir Gavin, and it is how might we have a healthy lifestyle. So basically, for the last 4 or 5 days, we discussed briefly about all those things, and yesterday we have mixed up the ideas from the other two teams as well, so as to come up with one single solution. So first of all, let's try to understand the problem better. In the age of consumerism and globalization, unhealthy lifestyle is a reality. So there are a lot of research papers already published, and then if you go on to the field and ask people if they're satisfied with their lifestyle, they say no, it can be better. So and they are looking for ways, in ways that they can make it look better, they can have a healthier lifestyle. So our aim is to promote healthy campus life in NIT Silchar. So this whole presentation that we have made, we have kept NIT Silchar in the focus. So, but the plan that we have, this prospective, it's having a vision. It's we are looking forward for many years to come. It's not just for 2 years, 3 years, means 10 years, 20 years. So now we have got inspiration from quite many sources. So we have seen that in the University of Maryland, they organize specific weeks like smoking free week. They have and it has been very popular there, successful, and then optimizing the calorie, vitamin, protein intake of dormitory meals. So when you know what you are eating and when you are getting encouraged, okay, you have good amount of calories, you are going to have a good life ahead, and you're going to start your day wonderfully well. So this is getting successful there, and then Clemson University, South Carolina, they have developed an application to guide students to have meals with right amounts of nutrients. So there, University of Maryland, they are organizing weeks the same way. We will be organizing some campaigns and some field marketing work in the same way. And then from Clemson, we have learned that we can make use of applications for our task. And then they even created a course to train students as gym trainers. So when students get a chance to be a gym trainer, they feel more confident, and this way they are better in maintaining their own style, and they go to gym more regularly. So now we have from the Yale University, they have actually gamified this thing. So they have made this cathedral of sweat. So they have given it a designing of a cathedral, so you can come here and you can sweat off your body. So this is also very popular among students. So now how we are going to provide the solution, the ultimate solution. So it's going to be in three phases. The first phase is the club. Basically, we will be forming a club. It will be a health club, and then we will be forming an app. That will be the second phase, and in the third phase, we will be having some freshly cultivated vegetables. So, what value that is going to create, I am soon shortly going to discuss about that. Now, what is the main motive of the club? The main motive of the club is to give the feeling to the members that okay, you are a group, a member of a group, and a member of a health club, and you all are sharing common motives that you want to have a healthy lifestyle. This is going to be a community where you are helping each other. So it is proven that when you are helping each other for attaining a common motive, then you get better at achieving it. If you compare it against when you're trying to achieve that thing alone, and then motivation and socializing. When we talk about health, then and healthy lifestyle for that matter, it does not only mean that we are only talking about physical health, because like WHO says it, health has three components. One is physical health, mental health, and then social health. So we are through this club, we are obviously working on physical health, but we are also working on social and mental health because you're socializing with new people. So this way we are helping them socialize in the early morning, and you're discussing some good things. And then what is this morning fruits? So I'll be discussing about this very shortly. Now in the app, the main motive of the app will be to monitor your time management skills, how good or so far in managing your time, and how and health monitoring. This app will be helping you in monitoring your health. And then there is some interesting spice to it, which we call celeb motivation. Well, if we go to the consumer market, celeb motivation is all there everywhere. So, for example, our Prime Minister Narendra Modi launched help. We have things like ice bucket challenges, and they are done by celebrities. So these things actually work, especially in the viral sector of social media. So we are going to utilize those. And ultimately, in this fresh thing, we have developed some ways so that we can have fresh vegetables. And how we are going to manage this, let's discuss this right now. So before moving ahead, there is one thing called campus satisfaction rating. We basically ask 20 or 30 students, whoever went into the time constraints. So this represents that, okay, how much you are satisfied with the food you eat, how much you are satisfied with the little goals you have. Like, okay, I want to have good marks in my next exams. These are little goals. How satisfied you are with your bigger goals? How close you feel you are closer to your bigger goals? Like you want to become a pilot or something. And ultimately, do you think you are healthy? So this, then we have girls and boys in an IT teacher campus. We found out that with food, girls have a bigger problem than boys. So when we have a limited money to work on this thing, then we have to first focus on girls. And then we have this little goals. Girls are more satisfied with the little goals. So we have to work on boys so that they can help achieve their little goals better. And then we have, when we look on for the health thing, we see that more than 3.5 rating out of 5 girls are giving to themselves. Okay, we think we are healthy. So they feel they are healthy because they do not know the full definition of health. When we ask if you are depressed, they say yes, we are depressed. And when we say, are you healthy? They say yes, we are healthy. So this shows that there is lack of awareness for this overall definition of health. And when it comes to boys, it's the same story there as well. So now awareness is important to actually tell them what it means to be healthy. So now I would like to share our own experience. So we once tried this thing so that everybody would get up in the morning. So we have tried this thing. We knocked the doors of our friends. We got them up, and then we got in the morning, and it was actually enjoyable. It was easier to get up when our friends were knocking at the door than to get up only when you were trusting your alarm clock. So our experience with this thing was good, and going to that, let's now talk deeper about the club thing. It consists of, first of all, we have to initialize a club. In order to initialize a club, we need initial members, like we need 50 members. Are we having them right now? Then the answer is yes. So there are 50 students working for ViewMatch, a company from within the college. So it is easy for us to initialize this thing, to initialize a health club in an IT. Then it comes to, when we have this club, we have to sustain this, we have to maintain that thing, and we have to make it better and better so that they feel okay. It is very fruitful to be a part of this health club, and we have to enlarge this thing so that this community becomes bigger and bigger and stronger with time. So we are going to talk about how it looks like when you are part of a health club. So basically, here the center shows an idol, means this person is satisfied with his life. He's peaceful and he's happy. He has got no complaints about his lifestyle. So this is where we want to take our customers and our members, partners. So now we are going to discuss. But to reach exactly the center, there are these four barriers that we have to cross. Now, these barriers are like unhealthy eating habits, and maybe they are not companions to help you wake up, or when you want to go to the gym and you want some companion. You don't want to exercise alone, because we asked and there were plenty of people who said we don't want to exercise alone. It is better if the gym is more full. And then time management. This is again another problem we will be looking at. And then this is awareness and getting ourselves motivated for doing something. Now, let's start it. So first of all, waking up. Basically, the alarm clock system has not been very successful when you are trying to change your lifestyle. So suppose you have a flight tomorrow, then mostly you are going to wake up before the alarm clock, because highest in your priority list. But for example, you say, like, I want to live more healthy, so I want to wake up every day. You're trying to make a routine. I'm trying to wake up every day at 5 o'clock. But when they apply their alarm clock, they snooze it, and ultimately it doesn't work. But when you know that you are a part of a club, the health club, then the more active members who have a habit of waking up every day early in the morning, they will be coming at the door. They will call your name and they say, "Okay, Mr. Ayush, please get up. It's the time." So, if what if you do not get up, then you will be coming after 2 minutes. The second person from the member will come, you have not yet. But ultimately, at the third time, more than 90% people are going to wake up. So it's going to work this way. Once you have waken up and you step out and you reach the main field, what's going to happen there? There you get a chance to socialize with many like-minded people early in the morning. And then you know that in your mission, you are not alone. This is a collective vision. There's so many people together. So now you are having this opportunity to exercise and to meditate with more people. And then here we are solving the food problem also. So we cannot directly talk to the authorities. There is no guarantee that they will be helpful or not, and we are also not collecting money from them and then giving them a supply of food. And also we are not taking care of their whole diet, like breakfast, lunch, and dinner. What we are doing is we are having a clever way to give a fresh start in the morning. So even we are only focusing on their breakfast, because breakfast is the most important meal in the day. So what we are going to do is we are going to contact a fruit seller, a fruit vendor, and we are going to tell him that, see, there are these 100 members of our club who are guaranteed to be coming every day in the morning. So you have a business opportunity here. All you have to do is just take your stall, come in, and then you have to sell, and they will be buying it. So to start the day for any fruit seller directly with so many sales is very motivating. So this way, we are also solving availability of food. In the morning, we're going to provide them this thing. And then comes awards. So now in this health club, those members who are doing very well, those who have been volunteering wonderfully well, and those who are following the whole schedule well, we will be awarding them so that they can get motivated, and then the other members who are left behind, they also be motivated. So we will be making a system so that you can idolize somebody. Okay, he is doing so great. I also want to do like him. If he can do it, why not me? And then all these members are from the same group. So this award system is also there. And then comes aware and attract others. So basically, maybe like we will be having health runs every week or maybe every month. How much investment it requires? Nothing. Basically, just get your members and get them running, and then you have to publicize this thing. Means shout and tell everybody that you are a part of this health club and you feel great. You are so full of energy. But when others will be watching you so much energetic, they will be inspired. Okay, I must also be a part of this group. So, and then also there will be things like you will be distributing pamphlets, and you can also come up with magazines. You can tell your success stories to the local newspapers to inspire the local people. So this is the overall view of how this club thing is going to work. Now let's think a bit more about NIT Silchar. So we have developed a pocket within NIT Silchar, and just imagine this is working well. So to make them aware, I've already discussed pamphlets, social media, local news, magazine, events, and awareness campaigns. Now to sustain, we have to actually deliver them the value, and we are also going to organize some regular free health checkups on the field so that they can know, okay, they're actually having a better bodies now. So then we have hours motivation, and then once we get running, we can include a subscription fee there because they don't want to leave. They are enjoying there and they are having benefits. So there's a small subscription fee for the members, and there will be events, competitions, workshops that we can organize, and we can earn from there as well. But these little pockets, just imagine NIT is one pocket. The same way we can have more pockets in different colleges, and ultimately somebody can lead them. Somebody can head those pockets. For example, in NIT Silchar's health club is headed by suppose some boy named Rahul, and then IIT Guwahati is being headed by some girl named Iti, and then we can have conferences, meetings, later parts. So basically, we're connecting all the pockets from different colleges in order to make it even stronger. Now, this is the business model canvas for this first stage, for our key partners, how we are going to do this thing, value proposition, and all those things that we generally have. Um, Now, let us jump over to the app. if we get successful in this first stage, our next stage will be to develop an app and to make this thing even more powerful. Okay. Now, how this is going to work? So, how do companies sell their products? Companies sell their products by by getting these celebs signing up for advertising, so that they can influence their fans and then they can increase us. In the same way, we are going to sign up celebs, especially those who are into athletics, and we can say, okay, you motivate your fans for this thing through the app. It will be more personalized feeling. It will be like, suppose I'm an athlete, a national level athlete, and the country knows me, and I share this once in a month that I have waken up early in the 5 o'clock early in the morning. How about you? So this way, this is a more interesting alarm clock rather than just having 5 o'clock musical tone. It is having a celeb saying the actual thing that I have woken up this much.
You're gonna have to
Yeah. Okay, so now in this way we are going to grow the activities user base, and in this way, if you work well there in the app, you are having good time management, then you can get chances to meet your favorite celebrities. So your activity, mindfulness, sleep, nutrition, everything will be monitored the app, and then you will get a chance. You are getting motivated by a star, and then you also get a chance to meet the same star. This is how that is going to work. And now celebs can be from different fields. They can be sports, entertainment, academics. But to make it work, we have to make it pattern proof. Then we have to give the postings regulated frequency. And at least if you are signing up for that, you should sign up for minimum 5 celebs. Because if one celebrity is posting everything about him every day, then it is security threat. So that way we have to develop a system, a good algorithm. And this is the business model for the second stage. This is the last stage, the garden patch thing. So here, if you look around NFT system, there is plenty of land, and not much of that land is being utilized properly. So we can talk to the authorities and get some land where we can cultivate vegetables. And then it is not as simple like we are just cultivating them. We can beautify that place and give it a shape like a garden so that it feels looks beautiful. And then we can manage finances to it. If you are growing your own vegetables, you're saving a lot of money from buying the raw materials. Now, so this is just how it may look like in within the campus. This, you are having different sections. Now you are giving some fees. A part of your fees, the mess fees, is being utilized, and you are given a section, a small section in this. So there is a maintainer, a gardener basically, who gardens everything around. But you know that while you're sitting at the room, somebody is cultivating tomatoes on your field. So this creates a human feeling. And now you have a limited means suppose in 1 month you can get your food stuff cooked 3 times, and for that we have food court building. It is again not being utilized, so there you can pluck your vegetables, fill your basket, go there, and you can ask the chefs, I want this thing. Please cook this for me. And then the chef will cook this for you. And you can even go into the kitchen and assist him. So this will give more human feeling to this thing. And this will also save a lot of money. And you know what you're eating. So this is the main business model for the third stage. In this way, we can expand all around the country also. This model is easily adaptable to different college campuses, and this is feasible because it's very easy to. It requires more management than money. It requires basically the assistance from the people, and then it's viable because we see there are some way from where we are generating the revenue, and it's desirable because there is this increasing demand in the market that we want to have this better lifestyle. Thank you.
good. Thank you. Good concept. I won't comment much, but I've taken some notes here because we've got next one. But that was good. Yeah, nice coverage. Yeah, yeah, I took a note of the name.
So,
We all want to work. So who's next? Who's next? And you're just going to talk about it.
Yes, sir. Okay. So we have a few slides, but most of the part will be at the end.
Okay.
The
All right.
main focus is
Good morning. Good morning. We are a team of Shikhar, Sneha, and myself, Tej. Uh, ours is how might we improve time management among college students. We went through the spaces, inspiration, ideation, and implementation. Um, we'll first go through the inspiration phase. Inspiration phase, what we did was we met a lot of college students here and spoke to them on a one-to-one basis, which mainly comprised interviews. Then, after that, the insights that we got in this inspiration space were that a student comes to NIT Silchar, he joins the college, but he really doesn't know why he's come here. He's come here because he wants a degree. He has been sent from his people, from his home, family, that he needs an education, but he's not really motivated that he should be here working in this place, and he's not really interested in what his actual motivations or what his actual desires are. He has just come here because he needs a degree and he has been sent here. And when he looks around, he does not have any guide or a role model. He's just there, but he doesn't know where to go. He's like drifting. And then as the years pass by, some of them pick up something, some knowledge. Some of them pick up that, yes, this is what I want to do. But most of the time, students here have no goals as such, explicit goals. They are not sure where they want to go ahead. They do not have any guides or role models, and they're drifting. And some of them do not know how to prioritize because they don't know what is what they actually want to do. They just go along with the flow, what their friends are doing, what their colleagues are doing. So our insights were there are no guides, there are no role models. Students do not have any prioritized issues, and most of them do not have any awareness about a lot of things that includes a healthy lifestyle piece. So I will now request Shikhar to continue forward from that inspiration space and the insights that we got.
Okay, thank you very much. I hope my voice will be audible. So now we did a lot of things in the part of our project. The first was talk without it.
Yeah, yeah.
I think my voice is audible.
Yeah, yeah.
That's a very difficult thing. Sir, so we went to the Design Kit website and we tried to look about what are the tools that we can use for all the three phases of inspiration, ideation, and implementation. So earlier, starting with the inspiration phase, our first tool, we went through a lot of tools. Our first tool was the 5 whys. For the 5 whys part, we went to a lot of shops in the FPS. We called it the fair price shops, and again to the canteens. We talked to a lot of people in the mess management, and we tried to collect information about the 5 whys. First, we have asked them. Let's say we went through 5 questions with the shop owners. Why are you selling these particular items? So their reply in general was because these are the things that most of the students want. Then we asked, why do you think most of the students want these particular items, which are usually junk food items? So they said because usually usually this kind of food is tastier and cost effective. Like we asked them, why is it cost effective? Because like Silchar is a kind of region where fruits gets very costly. Like if you want a cool drink, it costs you 10 rupees. If you want let's say a banana juice, it costs you 50 rupees. Let's consider like it's actually costs 40, but still it's 4 times high. So for a lot of people who are from the middle class background, it's easier to go for unhealthy habits than healthy habits. Then we again ask them, what is the one thing that if you want, you can do to add to the value of healthy fooding habits in the college? So they said, like, they themselves realize that these are not the things that will promote a healthy lifestyle. But as most of the students are demanding these things, that's why they are selling. So they also ask for alternatives, like there are branded things which also come in healthy packaging, like there's milk packaging, because we don't get milk in our hostels, we only get tea, which is also not so much directly healthy. So these are the kinds of question. Again, we went for the another tool that is called defining your audience. So that was on the design kit website again. So for that, we selected the youngsters. Then we went again into the funnel type system. Among youngsters, we selected the students, and finally the college students. So our audience is the people who are sitting around here, the people who are in the whole campus. Then we use the another tool that is called immersion. For immersion, immersion means you have to act along with the people. You have to become a part of the audience, which was very easy for us because we ourselves are the audience. Then we interviewed a lot of people. We interviewed students. Why are they not able to manage their time? The most important thing is because in the college, most of the things happen randomly, except the classes. We have classes that are scheduled. Most of the events are not scheduled beforehand. Like if say there's an event at 5 o'clock, it will be told to you at 11 o'clock, 11 a.m. So it becomes very haphazard to plan things for the whole day just the night before. So for that, we try to make a system where we try to make an app which will be which will include the information of Gymkhana. Gymkhana is the Gymkhana is the name of our student union body. So most of the things that almost every event or every news that is going to happen in the college comes on the Gymkhana website or the Gymkhana Facebook page. But it comes in the forms of posts. So it becomes very hard for a person who, like, let's say I didn't open Facebook for due to classes. So I won't be able to know about the events. So what our app will do, it will create a timeline of all the events along with their time. Again, there is another thing that is classes. So the classes schedule will be added in the same timeline so that you are able to manage your classes along with the events. The third part that will come in the timeline would be adding a specific slot for sports or physical activity. We are initially considering a 1 hour and 30 minutes time every day that you have to give for physical activity. It would be a slot, 1 hour 30 minutes. But the flexibility is you can shift that slot. Either you can keep it in the top in the early morning, you can keep it in the afternoon, you can keep it in the evening. These are all the kind of things that we are trying to do. After that, the app uses a concept which I think earlier Bhaiya took from our site only in the feedback discussion. That is called the model of celebrities mentorship. So what happens in a lot of scenarios is that people find it very hard to get up in the morning, and we use another concept that is used in a particular app, which is the one of the base reference for our project. It's a Duolingo, an app for learning languages. I asked a few people along with me who are using that app, and we noticed that there are apps for time management, but they never seem fruitful. We install them, use them for a week, let's say 15 days, then we get bored, or maybe we get annoyed with the notifications that are like stammering over us. But Duolingo is an app which basically is for learning different languages, but you keep stuck with that app. You keep going again and again up to the app. Why? Because the app has some particular features which are very useful. First of them is personalized notifications. The app doesn't say you have to learn this thing at this particular time. It says just the use of words is different. It says, hello Shikha, You haven't been doing this thing for a long time. I'm very hurt from you. How can you leave me alone? Like it's a kind of personalized system. So what we are trying to develop is a personalized AI system that will work on the background of a celebrity face. Like let's say we take Rajnikant, the very famous celebrity of India. Early in the morning, Rajnikant will tell you, I have already woken up, why not you? It's a kind of motivational factor. And you can select the celebrity that you want. And we will also take feedback from the celebrity and their lifestyles. So that will again be added to this. One more thing that will be added in our system would be one more tool that we use was called analogous inspiration from the inspiration phase and the ideation phase. So what happens in analogous inspiration is we get deep into a discussion, a funnel type system, then we suddenly come out and try to look from the outside. So for that, we considered what is the real reason that people are not able to manage their time. The biggest problem is we all get the same 24 hours a day. Everyone has set 24 hours, but some people are able to manage it well, some not well. So it lies behind three main causes, which are the three main factors that we came across. First is prioritization. Most of the students don't have their life prioritized, and like they are just like a memory running through without the locationing of a point. It's a completely computer science term, running without pointers. So like they are just running throughout their day and adding things without prioritizing things. Like they have not prioritized what they should be doing every single day. So the second is small term goals. And the long term goals. The biggest problem with engineering is that it's a very bad phrase, but in India, people first select engineering, then they decide what they want to do with their life. It's a very big problem. So most of the students who are in engineering college, they are not directly wanting to do engineering. They maybe want to shift to management, maybe want to shift to entrepreneurship or something. And a lot of people are just in the middle of nothing. So what our app will try to do is we will try to figure out their long-term goal. We will ask them how to set a long-term goal, and then small-term goals that will work towards a long-term goal. Because let's say you want to join a foreign university. For that you need, let's say, above 8.5 pointer. You need to have a particular number of internships. So they will be your small-term goals, and that then there would be one long-term goal. And everything that you do will be divided among these things using the SWOT method. It's a method in which you divide everything between your strength, weaknesses, like what's urgent and what's not urgent. So every activity that you do can be divided into these four parts. So that was the second phase.
Okay. Yeah, will you continue with that implementation that you were discussing? We don't have much time, so I'll rush to that.
Okay. We will end it in 1.5 minutes.
So this was the basic overview. We are gonna start with an app, but I don't think that would be sufficient. It is just a start. We will have a very flexible system of feedback and app. We will just keep on iterating and iterating and iterating, although our app just goes live.
We will keep on iterating, although our app goes live. We'll just will depend upon the feedback of our customers and who are just using the app. Next time we'll have various rewards, all sort of we are talked of. Will also depend on celebrity motivation. Actually, what we are trying to do is bringing the social design of life of a successful person to a virtual platform. We are just not gonna say to you, do this, do that, don't do this, don't do that. We say that he does this and he is successful. Do you want to be like him or you don't? That is your choice, because an app can't force a person to do so. I can only show you examples. If you will get decided I'll not do this, then no one can motivate you. So we will just give an example to follow. Like most of my friends said, their major problem to not maintain
better time management and healthy lifestyle is lack of guidance and need. They don't think it is just useful for them to keep it on their first priority. That only we will try to do with our app, and next will help, like, see, you have gained something from the app, your experiences. We'll have one column known as your experiences, from where if I am new into app, I'll choose a celebrity, say Rajnikant only, someone who has been with him throughout his journey, like a person A. He will share his experiences. I'll read about his experiences, and whatever revenue the company generates from that, the person who shares his experience, it will be shared with him, like 20 or 30%. That will be the business model on which we will sustain, and although the person on our right. That will be.
Thank you, sir. Although a lot of part is still under working and we haven't figured out the exact thing, we are still a little fuzzy about it, but still that's what we actually want.
Actually, this is a 22-hour-old idea, so we don't expect more than this. Like just 22 hours.
We definitely expected more, but
That's how we may not record so we should
so we will definitely improve upon that idea.
Last one? Someone else? Trying to present?
So, so, so we made our presentation on it was the introduction to design thinking.
It might be easier if you hold the.
So our presentation is on was introduction to design thinking, which was our course. So I represent this. I am Nakshatra Gupta on behalf of my team. Uh, we had an inspiration case for which we tried to discover what could be the problem. For that, we conducted an activity to find out what could be the problem with the students here, for which we had a WhatsApp survey. Uh, so students was not able to spend quality time with their friends like when they are eating, because our mess don't allow eating with their friends from different hostels and all these. So this was their thing, and they were not getting healthy food in their mess. Major problem was healthy eating habits. They were facing these in their daily lifestyles. So we tried to figure out what we can do for this. Uh, for this, as we go, we saw that there is most of the unused lands in our campus, which could be the solution for our problem. As campus like ours are having lots of unused lands, so we can acquire them and make organic farms out of these. So how might we do all these things? So the idea was to implement design thinking. As its basic funda is inspiration, ideation, and implementation of what we thought. We thought of a restaurant which can serve food to our customers, which is healthier, and they can spend some quality time with their friends and whoever they want. So the idea behind our restaurant, we named it DIY restaurant, as one can figure out from the name. It is do it yourself. It is having an organic. It will be having as a component as organic farming, which is the main thing, as we want to make it healthier, and organic is healthier. Organic things are healthy for us. So we for that organic farming, we want land which will be acquired from that campus in which it is implemented. Raw material will be transported from the vendors, and manpower will be hired locally. From all these things combined, we will get our final product, uh, combining these things, which will be served in the restaurant. And the waste from the restaurant will be used as compost, will be transformed into compost, and will be delivered to that organic farm. For that, we had an idea of concentrated solar power, as we will be powering our restaurant with solar power. Everything will be sustainable, so that using that land in the most efficient way will be this. Because on that same land, we will use it as a we will use solar power, as well as we will grow our crops, and we will do farming, which is like we want to get most out of that sunshine we see, and get most out of our land. As organic in organic farming, many unused spaces are there. So we will use that space to uh, to get that to get that solar power. We will train our we will train manpower, which will be locally hired to do these organic farming practices. Resource management is our idea. As I already said, that solar power will be acquired from that land, and also these farming will be carried out in between spaces, so that we can use our land efficiently and use our resources in a very efficient manner. So after all these, in our final restaurant, we require that we will bring do-it-yourself tables, which will be having chulas, that solar powered chulas, equipments, basic supplies, manpower, and power supply. As the name suggests, do it yourself. This table will be equipped with all the things one requires to make their food and whatever they order, so that they can cook their food on the table itself. It is having scope of sustainable development, as this idea is all sustainable. We will use natural resources, which will be which will benefit which will benefit us as well as our environment. Uh, so it is all sustainable. Our building will be supplied with solar power. Waste generated would be used for the organic farms. So it is having, so the main thing is it is having uh, zero waste, as well as we will not promote any use of plastic, as these are bad things. We all know for our environment. So it will be zero plastic model. Right. We want our customers to be happy. So it will be a user-friendly ordering and payment services. Customer can book table online as well as offline. The availability of table will be recorded using technology. We will make our app for this, and we will also be having 2-minute menus, because everyone today want to save their time. So it will be a key thing. They can make their food in 2 minutes, as it suggests, if they make it in efficient manner.
Continuous improvement will be done in these by taking their feedbacks, and we will instruct them for the 2-minute menus. Business model will be that there will be minimum import of items. We will try to produce all the things on the campus itself, and it will be a self-support system. We will hire people locally, which will generate employment, which is advantageous for people. And customer need to pay for table time. Well, everyone want to get it less, want to get it more at a less price. So they have to pay for that time they are using at a, they are passing at a restaurant. So the basic supplies will include spices and all the things to make the food. Everything will be organic. That's a motto. And manpower, manpower will be our, these are our assets as they work for us. They improve with time as they work. That's why I call them assets. And we will hire locals. We will train them and get them to our work. Other services we will provide for those customers who don't want to cook their food, or they are not in mood to cook today. Uh, so they but they want to eat. So we will get them do-it-yourself salad bars in which salad will be chopped, and they can like buffet system. They can choose what they want to eat, and for this is basically for those who don't want to cook or they don't have enough time to cook. So it is a very great option for them as these will be delicious. And there is also a fruit bar where they will get fruits like salads or with salads and fruit shakes also. Our main idea will be time. So everyone want to save their time. So 2-minute menus will be there. So that it is a main attraction for customers. Packages will be provided by our sites, which they can use to make their product in very less time, which will be efficient for them. Uh, our main funda, our main funda will be it is fresh, it should be healthy, and it is quick. As it can describe all the things, fresh things will be provided. It is organic, that's why it is healthy, and it will be quick, so the customer will be happy. So the advantages of our restaurant is that it generates employment because we are hiring local people. They will be employed. Complimentary food access to our employees. Autonomy to user. User gets only that thing which they want in their plate. So it's the autonomy of user and it's zero waste model. As the manure and compost in organic farm will be delivered from that restaurant only, and it is all sustainable. Thank you.
Great, thanks. Yep. Job. Really interesting. Oh. Okay. So I think, yeah, so Abhishek and I have another meeting to go to at 12, but I think we're going to meet later, dinner time or something. I think. Sid? So I will see you, and I'll give you I'll put those comments up about the projects. Yeah? They're all good given the time constraints. Yeah. So good job on that. But sorry. Obviously, just a quick tip, just explaining to them, we're heading off now, but we'll see them later. Is that right?
At 4. And do not disappear, because it would be a face loss, because it's a valedictory session. I assume the director would be coming and all. I understand that a couple of you have to go. There are other obligations, but for the rest of you, please try to be here at 4ish.
Can we take a group snap?
Please, yeah.
No,